Welcome everyone to TJ Speaks. Today, May 26th, the year 2023, I will be discussing how I became a Trump supporter. Um, so let's get into it, shall we? Take my sip of coffee here. Okay. How did I become a Trump supporter? Okay, it was about back in 2014. Around that time, Barack Obama was president. I was not particularly happy with the services of Barack Obama. Um, I was working at that time for at least 10 years, and I haven't received a raise since he basically became president. I've noticed that I did not receive a raise and, on my job. So, and then also I started noticing how my money wouldn't stretch as far as it used to. Suddenly, working an average job was not good enough. I found myself being living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet, not qualifying for any of the affordable housing or any other of the social services assistance. I felt um, let down, abandoned, and alone in this fight for the American dream. That's pretty much where I come from. My whole life, I am a foundational Black American. I hear other people speak of this American dream. And then suddenly, not suddenly, but steadily, I realized as I was growing up and I'm working that no matter how hard I worked, I did not, seem to get anywhere. I was not making any progress. And I hear all these people talking about this American dream, and it's a mix of, um, Americans are stupid. I hear all different type of comments, and I just started to realize, wait a minute, I'm not exactly getting any of the services that I pay for, that I pay my hard-earned tax dollars. I've noticed that I was X'd out of everything. They give you the politicians, they'll get on the, TV or the news or whatever, and they'll tell you this promise of, you're going to have this affordable housing. You're going to, get all of this wonderful benefits that never actually occurred. They brag about the city and federal jobs as if the medical benefits are top notch. But when you get into the thick of it, it really isn't. The benefits are turned out to be less than what you would get from Medicaid. So working became no, it did not make sense to work. But a person like me, I have my pride, I have my dignity. I could not go down without a fight. I did not want to be on public assistance and stay on the same level for the rest of my life. So that's when I started paying attention to politics, what's going tuning in on CNN, tuning in on other channels, and whatnot, and then making up my own conclusion based on my life experience at that particular time. So around 2015, I remember the economy doing really bad. Um, really, probably I probably noticed the economy doing really bad. That was like since Obama got in that office. Um, the economy had like virtually tanked to nothing. It was really, really hard out here. Um, so I'm going to fast forward to 2015 time when just before Trump came into play. I was researching. I was wondering, like, as a Black American, what happened? Black Americans, we have been here for over 500 years. So I'm an inquisitive person, and I'm, curious about what's going on. Why haven't we made any progress in such a long time? So I did my research. I started researching what happened after, let's see, the Civil War time. We were promised this 40 acres and a mule. What happened? Which president was the president after the Civil War time? What happened after Lincoln got assassinated and whatnot? And then as I was researching and looking around that time, I noticed one thing, that the Democrats, um, the presidents that we had after Lincoln, um, were like the initial one was a Democrat, and he started to reverse all of the things that was, you know, being set in place. No, it was to reverse the things that was being set in place after the Civil War, like freeing the slaves. It was a president that actually, I believe, he got if I'm not mistaken, just going off the top of my head, he got either got censured or removed or impeached because he wanted to put the slaves back into slavery. And America had just fought this horrific civil war. And no one was trying to go backwards. So they removed him or made him powerless. And then, different, years go on. And then I researched the president's names, and every time there was a Democrat, that Democrat was associated with the old Confederate Party. So then bell alarm started, jumping off in my head like, my goodness. Oh my goodness. Democrat Party, Confederacy, Democrat Party, General in the Confederacy, Democrat Party, soldier in the Confederacy. I said, oh my goodness. Every last Democrat was a part of the Confederacy. So, growing up in New York and having only Democrat representatives, no wonder none of the programs worked for me. No wonder everything seemed out of reach. Everything that I tried to do or try to attempt to get, it was like they had me running in circles. You know, they make it so hard just to get started, just about anything. You really got to jump through hoops. And by the time you get anything, even like a simple thing as an apartment, you're so grateful. You don't want to even leave your apartment or move because you work so hard just to have a roof over your head. And the same thing with the jobs. You don't like your boss. The job sucks, but you remember it was so hard just to get that job. You just don't want to go nowhere. You're like, oh no, I don't want to have to go through the hell that I've been through just to get this job again. So that's how a lot of people stay in the same place for a very long, if not permanently. Because the way the system is set up is for you to never want to make things so hard for you that you never want to go anywhere. Basically, it became a trap and everything started coming into play. That's when immediately I found out the Democrats association with the Confederacy, and how in Congress, how they threw the original Black caucus was all Republicans. How they threw them out of Congress once they got their grasp back into, once they did Reconstruction, and they was America wanted to heal, and really much the white Republicans reached out to the Democrats, and they was trying to unite and trying to come together as one country again. What happened was the blacks were pushed out. The Democrats never wavered from their objective, was to hold the slave descendants, well, now free slaves, hold them down for all eternity, to block them out of the American dream, to never let them prosper in this country. And they stayed, what do you call that? They stuck to the script. Democrats have stuck to the script, and they know their history. Okay, they're very well educated in their history. They have not forgiven the freed slaves, the former slaves. They have not forgiven them for beating them in that Civil War. They was this close in the Civil War from winning until Lincoln and Frederick Douglass teamed up and initiated the freed runaway slaves, the former slaves that had to escape in order to fight for the Union Army. That was the time that turned the whole war around. Because this brings so much emotions when I think about it, because a lot of people don't understand the sacrifice and the courage that it took for a slave to stand up for a country that enslaved them. The dream that they had to have, the vision that they had to have the courage after all of those years of abuse to take that gun and fight like hell. And they did. They fought like hell. They whooped their asses on that field during the Civil War. And so I'm very, very proud of that history. Um, Growing up, being educated in a Democrat city with Democrat mayors and Democrat governors, we have always been taught to view slavery as a shameful thing, that we were the stupid people, the low people. Oh, how could you be a slave? And ha ha ha. And they made slavery so shameful that many people in the 80s did not even want to remember their history of slavery. They try to erase it from their memory, because the stigma of being a slave is the stigma of shame for a lot of people up until that particular point. And so, um, you know, just went through that and understanding what happened and the consistency of the Democrat Party and the relationship with Confederacy, and realizing, wait a minute, this Republican Party business, and I'm not loyal to any particular party, but the Republican Party started becoming more interesting. Like, wow. And then I found out the history of the Republican Party. It was started by freed slaves, um, and abolitionists. So that intrigued me. I said, wow, black people was involved in establishing a political party in America. It's a history that was never taught to me. It was never taught to me. That's why, and I was shocked. I was shocked. Couldn't believe it. I said, black people started a party? It was amazing. And then as I researched the party history, the one that some of the people that's there today will not recognize is that they were called they had Democrats wrote up posters how this was they was referring to black people, the Republican Party, as derogatory, and the photographs and the newspaper articles that was at that time will prove what I'm saying. They have a bad reputation when it come to Republican. They used to put the black face on the advertisement, basically telling everyone, the white Americans, don't join the Republican Party. That's the party of the blacks, and a whole lot of derogatory names. So then, boom, I decided at that point that I will no longer be a Democrat. I felt like a fool. I felt bamboozled, taken from Malcolm X. I felt like a complete idiot, not knowing this information. But at the same time, I was very grateful for the internet, because the internet liberated all of the libraries, all of the education, the books, the writings, the drawings that was never at my disposal. And what I was denied, the education I was denied in school, I was able to get from an outside source, and everything was at my fingertips. So I was really, really grateful for that internet invention. So from that point on, that's when I became a registered Republican, because I had to be true to who I am. All right. I don't like racists. I don't like racism. And after learning the history of the Democrat Party, I felt deep in my heart, I cannot be a fool any longer. Maybe, I learned a lot about the Democrats, how they, force a lot of blacks to register as Democrats after denying them entry into that party for a very long time. Blacks could not register as a Democrat. But somewhere around the civil rights era, that's when the Democrats were going down south, when they realized the blacks were going to achieve civil rights in America. That bill was coming down the pipeline. They started forcing the blacks to become registered Democrats. It's either you register as a Democrat or nothing else. They did that a lot down south. They paid the black pimps like the Al Sharptons up here in the north to basically herd the sheep into the Democrat Party, the same party that did not vote for the Civil Rights Act, that did not want blacks to ever achieve equality as a citizen in America, suddenly hired all of these surrogates that was black to herd the black people into the Democrat Party. Because before then, all the blacks knew that the Democrats were the KKK. And they knew they were not welcome in the Democrat Party. So that's that. Registered as a Republican, felt free. I didn't like the Democrat talking points. We're for the poor people. Well, guess what? I don't want to be poor the rest of my life. I'm trying to get some of that American dream that I see everybody else riding around with. People just come here yesterday. They got a BMW the next day. I want that. I want to be a part of that. And so that's why I left the Democrat Party and I never turned back around. So now I'm getting back to my roots. I'm getting back to, I joined the Republican Party because of the strength of the party and they have, some power. So started working, started paying attention to the candidates and whatnot, being more involved, not too much involved, but just somewhat more involved into politics and being alert to what these politicians were saying and how their policies impacted my life. Okay. And then, enter the infamous Donald J. Trump. Sitting there watching the news, Donald J. Trump enters the race as a Republican. And like me, Donald Trump was a Democrat. So immediately I felt like, wow, he must have found out the same thing that I found out about the Democrat Party and didn't want to be associated with that party anymore. So, he came down and then he started talking real, like a regular person. And that's what connected me to Donald Trump. Even though he's this billionaire, he had that relatability to regular people. And what happened was living in New York City it turns out that um, President Donald Trump is very, very popular among the people that work, the working class people. A lot of people had jobs with him. And I would hear random stories about how he basically was like a hero around Christmas time, where usually you're very tight for cash and you trying to buy presents, but you work all year and all your money's going to taxes and your money's going to rent, and you don't really have Christmas for your kids. And he understood that. And what he did for his employees is he gave them bonuses at the end of the year, $5,000. Okay, this is a testimony that I got from a Puerto Rican man at my job. I was like, wow. I said, that was amazing. That is a lot of money for a regular person. I mean, $5,000 for Christmas, that can change you having a very happy Merry Christmas. And for him to be so in tune with the struggles of everyday people, I mean, that spoke to me. And I was already listening to what he was saying and analyzing why was the media attacking him so much. Like, this is America. Don't everybody have a chance to get to the American dream? I mean, he's running for president. That's our legal right. For them to all be laughing and carrying on, I said, something's up with this. The more they laughed, the more the media teased them, the more I became interested. And so he kept speaking. He was speaking the truth. A lot of people come to America and they're not exactly nice. Um, and that's, unfortunate. They act, they misbehave. Uh, some of them are criminals. And I realized I didn't know that we weren't getting any protection as a citizen. We weren't getting protection from the outside elements of the world. We have our own criminals here. We don't need to invite new criminals from new places. That doesn't make any sense. We want to try to achieve the ideal society, a more perfect union. So why would you have any old Tom, Dick, and Harry, okay, from all over the world show up in mass numbers? I felt that because I was black, once again, the Democrats did not respect me as a citizen. So they were not doing anything to protect me, and just to reflect, you look at how they treat these migrants, how much protection how much action these migrants are getting from the politicians, you realize that's the actions that they were supposed to be doing for you. They're supposed to be out there on the stump for you as a U.S. citizen. All right, you're paying these people salaries. Those migrants didn't pay them one dime. So it has to be some type of racist element on why the Democrat Party feels so much allegiance to these migrants who have not paid them a dime to represent them. They have not paid these people a dime. And what it tells me and what it speaks to me when I see the Democrats, Biden, Kamala, and the rest of the gang, Mayor Adams, all on the side of the migrants and not on side of the black citizens. It's a big population in New York City. What that speaks to me as to this day, the Democrat Party is staying true to their word. They never planned on black people enjoying this country, the descendants of slaves in particular. All right. We have a Pacific stigma against us and a Pacific hatred against the foundational black Americans because of what happened in the Civil War. They was this close in keeping slavery in America forever. Had not Lincoln won that war and those slaves jumped into that battlefield, we would have been in slavery till the end of time. And these people would have been mega, mega rich forever. And they have not forgotten, and they have not forgiven us. And to this day, we have still not received reparations. And that's not an accident. But it's our fault as foundational black Americans for backing that party, the Democrat Party, with that history for so long. And they don't provide any services for black Americans, especially the foundational black Americans. They put every roadblock, every disqualification policy against you. And if you pay strict attention, you will see how they open up pathways and doors for these migrants who can do no wrong. They're not checking their backgrounds. They're not checking their criminal history. They're not even requiring an ID from these people before they give them your money, your resources, your paycheck, and basically they made you their servant. So everyone's coming here for this rich place where they have these slave descendants who still to this day behave as if they have to serve other people. And I believe it was Chicago mayor. They said, the Chicago residents, need to serve the migrants. That really infuriated me when he said that. He's unintelligent because you're a black man in the Democrat Party who wanted to keep you in slavery. They literally fought a civil war to keep you in slavery, and you're representing them. So you look embarrassing and pretty much foolish. So that's pretty much how I became a Trump supporter. I thought that he was a rebel. I saw that he fought against, I felt like as much as they called him racist, he wasn't racist. He just wants to give everyone that's an American citizen a chance to thrive. and how, unlike the Democrats, he wasn't focused on my color. He was focusing on what can you what kind of talents do you bring. I believe that he saw talents in people that otherwise other people would not see. um he leveled with people, he treated people as an equal, he gave people seats at the table where blacks are normally not invited to the White House. President Trump had blacks in that White House, and he gave us the acknowledgement that I respect you. You are here, I see you, and I'm fighting for you because I work for you. And that's something that we never had. Representatives that we pay actually represent us. That's normally we don't get any services. We pay the bills, but we don't get any services. So I saw a difference in him, and I felt something about him. I'm very in tune with my feelings, and I said, this guy, he's the one. He is the one. So unlike before, what I did was make sure I support his campaign. I made sure I got involved. I did more than what I would normally do, more than what I was taught. If you really believe in something and you want a particular person, you got to put your money where your mouth is. It don't have to be a lot of money, but you got to put something where your mouth is, because politicians don't respect you chit chattering on TV and marching. They don't respect that. That's just the name of the political game. You got to put money where your vote is going. So I did, and we was getting, and I wasn't the only one. And we had during his presidency more political clout, and that felt great. We was actually getting things done. Our lives got better. Our lives got better. Our paychecks got better. All right, they don't want to give him credit during the pandemic for the stimulus checks, but he's the one that said no. The Democrat Party wanted to get that money into their hands. Governor Cuomo wanted your stimulus check in his hand. He didn't want to give it to the blacks because that's what they do. They collect the money on behalf of black people and never give it to the black people. All of a sudden, our money and resources go to the migrants or anybody else that's not black. So what President Trump, he knows how racist they are. He knows how racist the Democrat Party really are. So he told the Democrat governors, no, I'm not giving you the black citizens, because that's whose money they were after. They weren't after anybody else's money. They were after the black citizens' money. He said, I'm only giving this money to U.S. citizens, and you governors from New York, the Democrat governors, you're not getting their money. And he sent that check directly to us. For the first time in my whole life, and in any other grandparent, ancestor life before me, we actually got respect as a U.S. citizen, which felt freaking great. That felt wonderful. I was seeing progress, and um, I'm fighting to continue to see progress, and I believe we will. But we have to start getting smarter. It doesn't particularly matter which party you want to associate with. Me personally, I would never be a Democrat because I got to stay true. You fought to keep me in slavery. I can't rock with you. I'm not. It's like, you know, supporting. I just can't do it. I can't do it. So you won't see me lined up for any kind of Democrats, especially after years of voting for the Democrat Party with no results. I'm done. I don't got a whole life. I don't got forever to wait for the Democrat Party to decide maybe they're going to work for the black citizens, the black voters that actually vote them in. I don't got time for that. So that's my story. Um, I hope it makes sense to you. I hope you enjoy this conversation. And I thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day.